Woohoo!
Hola.
We are live.
Yes, we are.
Live and without a net for episode 43 of This Should Be the Podcast.
Yep.
Technical difficulties aside, we are here.
There are only difficulties technically.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, they're not existential difficulties. They're nothing that,
I always have existential difficulties.
I prefer the technical ones. Technical I can handle. Technical can be resolved.
I want something I can fix.
And on that note, we begin. Happy post-tax day eve, Dan.
Oh, I almost had something clever.
Oh, dang. Did you find
it floated in done? And then it floated away.
In and out, in and out. Are your taxes done?
Yeah, my taxes are pretty easy.
Are you, do you get them done on time every year?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever missed. I mean, it takes me like a couple hours. I just have to find the time in the afternoon to like get together some stuff. So
I have 4 months to do it. Yes, it's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, the trickiest part is like itemizing all of my 1099s for music income and stuff. And if the government is listening, every dollar was declared. So I don't know what you're thinking. There's absolutely no under the table cash exchanging hands here. But
they're not thinking. They know what you did. They know. You just need to prove to them. That's all. You need to prove to them what you did. They're good. They know.
Yeah, that they already know that you did.
Yes. Exactly. So there's,
but they won't tell you what your bill is. You have to guess.
Well, that's how it's supposed to go. That's how it's normally. Okay, yeah, sure.
Straight to jail.
Believe it or not, straight to jail. We're actually late on ours. We filed an extension, but I have to do two. Because I have to do a corporate and a personal. So
yeah, you got a lot of stuff to worry about. So I feel like that's
not really. It takes a long time for other people to do it. So I get in line, I give them my stuff, and you generally goes faster. Sometimes it doesn't. It is what it is. Not a big deal. It's not that big of a deal to file an extension. It happens every now and again.
I just use TurboTax.
Oh yeah, I miss those days. That was easy, and like everything would just populate from the year before. He was like, "Oh, I just got to update 3 numbers. This is nice."
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
did you do any of the following this year? And it's like all this various stuff. Like,
yeah. Though,
did you make any money from overseas cryptocurrency transactions?
Well, yeah, and
what if I did? Teach.
That's none of your damn business, son. Yeah, like I guess that's I get a booklet like this thick from my accountant. That's like the questionnaire. I don't know why it's not an online feature for them, but they send me a physical booklet and then I fill it out and I give it back to them. So someone has to like read through it, and it's just a lot of no. I did not do all those things. I am not blind and a war veteran with crippling mental deficiencies or something. I don't know. Like,
that'd be
all sorts of stuff.
What would it benefit me if I was?
Like, yeah.
Hypothetically.
Hey, listen, I'm trying to forecast for next year. What if I say yes? What does that do to my taxable income? Yay, up, down, low, good,
yeah.
Save me a few bucks. Yeah, I don't know. It's a frustrating event, but every year it's okay. Did you realize that today was the I never know the date, but today's the day is like the 29th year of Waco, anniversary of Waco?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, so next year is 30 years for that. And like I vaguely remember that as a kid.
Yeah, I remember it being all over the news.
Yeah.
I didn't really know.
No, yeah, I had no idea about it. But I remember it being an event that was on the news.
Yeah.
Not a good day. Not a
No, I remember it in the context of it was weird. There was like dual narratives because it was during the Clinton administration. Right. So people were like, inclined to think that what the government did was bad. But then at the other end, it was like, oh, but we don't like this guy because he's claiming to be Jesus or whatever.
Right.
Right. So it was like there wasn't really a side to pick. Although he didn't actually say that. I don't
No,
think.
he did not. Well,
That was kind of
yeah, no,
misquoted.
he did not say he was Jesus. He definitely said he was like a prophet and
Oh well,
speaking
he was a
directly
dick, no
for.
question. I mean,
Oh yeah, he was
he,
not a good person.
he was he basically got everybody killed, and he was a rapist as well.
Allegedly, Dan.
Well, if the
Well, no.
movie is accurate,
Oh,
which
well,
I
which
believe,
movie? Because the movie was.
the one I saw
Yeah.
that had Taylor, what's his name, and Michael Shannon,
Was it the Netflix one?
yeah, and the chick from Supergirl.
Yeah, that I mean, it didn't portray him in a good light. I don't necessarily. Well, I guess they kind of portrayed him as a child rapist.
Well,
Sure.
you start out. It's actually, I think that's a great movie because like you start out
It was a really well made movie.
you start out kind of being like, okay, this guy's nuts, but you understand why he was so charismatic, right?
Yeah.
Like every other sort of great cult leader, and then the weird stuff doesn't start to
Like
come out
any good
until later.
any cult leader worth his salt is very charismatic.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to like Dwight Schrute is not starting a cult. You know what I
This
mean?
is true. This is
So, yeah, but it makes you really the only sympathetic character in there is Michael Shannon's negotiator character because he was the only one who wants to avoid bloodshed, and everybody else is just so blinded by their own passion that they don't care who dies or
Yeah, there was a lot of batshit crazy going on in there, but also probably shouldn't have murdered like 80 people. Like probably should have burned the place down.
Yeah.
as,
Like,
know,
do
as
you
a
think about
response.
that if you're the guy driving the tank?
I know.
And I'm
right?
like, were they briefed on any of this stuff? It's just like driving a tank. Like, do
Yeah.
you think that there's just like terrorists in there, or do you not notice the like women and children?
Well, they knew it was women and children because that was the whole thing. They're like, well, right, okay, so now the child stuff. I think in my memory of it, it was all ATF thing. It was I mean, it was ATF, but like it was because they had firearms. That's why the feds were so involved.
Yeah.
Now the child stuff is not great, obviously, but those things kind of came out secondary, I think, as a justification for what happened. Maybe that's
Yeah,
just my
but
conspiracy theory going
if
on.
you're worried about children being held against their will, you don't murder the children.
Yeah, you don't firebomb 25 of them in their sleep.
For
or,
the
you know,
safety
while
of
they're-
these
while they're-
children, we need to
Let's
bulldoze
kill
this
the children.
building.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Yes, good point. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, it always blows my mind when that story comes up too. That's just I don't really think about it very often, but there's always a million memes and like the Twitter sphere I follow on the Waco day, which is like, oh my god, brutal. With like the freaking like the ATF agents like posing for pictures like on like the charred remains, and there's like dead people in the corner of the picture.
Oh, I never
It's-
saw that.
Oh, it's brutal. I'll try to find one later and send it to you. It's nasty. And like one of the guys, what was his name? He was up for something with the Biden administration, if I remember. ATF, Waco, an admin. I forget the guy's name. David Shipman. Is that what it is?
Janet Reno.
Yeah, it was all Janet Reno. I can't for the life of me think of Janet Reno without thinking of Will Ferrell. from
I
the
can't picture
freaking
her
Saturday
actual
Night Live.
face in my mind. I can only
I
picture
mean-
Will Ferrell dressed as her in that purple dress.
It's not that far off. That's what's brilliant about it. It's so good.
And to this day, it's connected to My Sharona.
Well, there's always dancing. Is it My Sharona? Was that one of the bigger? Skits?
That was
I
the
don't
one.
remember.
There was the Janet Reno's dance party. It's like for some reason
the dance
they were
party.
like trying to rehabilitate her image or whatever, and it was like she did this weird thing, and
That's when that's the political humor I want to see. It's like it's irreverent and stupid, and really has no point other than just to make fun of how someone looks and talks, and how awkward it would be if they were in a dance party. That's a good joke. That's good writing right there.
oh yeah, really
I'm not-
wild stuff.
Yeah, really, really. I'm not sure what Saturday Night Live does anymore. I don't really watch it.
Like imagine if the president in the 90s like got accosted by an Easter bunny. Did you hear about that?
I saw the video of it, or I saw first of all a snapshot of it, and then like he just looks very surprised. And then like when you're talking about also when the Easter Bunny goes and like grabs him and pulls him away from some kids.
Yeah, there was one edit that I saw was hilarious because it was like it pulls over and it's like dun, dun, dun. It was like this horror movie because he's got this face and he's like he's
yeah,
like
right.
looking at the,
Like
looking
he's
at the
like
bunny.
yeah, the bunny, like the back of the bunny's head's here, and he's like there,
Yeah.
like that whole thing. Yes, that was pretty funny. Accosted might be a strong word. Just frightened, startled by an Easter Bunny. Why not?
we're doing a lifeline for millions of Americans, like an Easter bunny. You know, he's just trying to work hard to put eggs on the table for millions of kids.
Oh, like Joe Kamala, was that a bunny there? I just said something about a bunny. My Joe Biden is a lot like my George Bush. It's not very good. Why did I have a Texas accent? Don't talk like from Texas. Oh yeah,
Easter bunny.
So, what a weird tradition that shit is. I don't know if I've ever taken my kids to see an Easter bunny. I'm sure they've been around one.
Yeah, where did
I don't think I purposely
all
done
the other
it, though.
traditions about holidays? You're like, all right, your Halloween
see
is kind of
this.
like the macabre. You know, it kind of makes sense. It's sort of the anti-Christmas. You know what I mean? And it's like it's kind of fun. It's ghoulish. It's whatever. And then Christmas, it's like everything's jolly. You know, but at what point did like the etymology of how Easter became associated with bunnies, like? That all comes from like, you know, the old pagan traditions of like Ishtar, the god of fertility and all the egg stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the spring equinox and all that kind of stuff. But at what point did we think it was a good idea to put like grown men in like horrific Easter bunny costumes? Like bunnies are cute already. You know what I mean? Like you look at a bunny in your yard and that's a cute little animal. Like why do they have to make it horrifying with like these teeth?
And they're not even bad nowadays, but like, I mean, they are bad. Some of them are, but like the ones from like back.
Oh, you see
before-
those old timey pictures
yeah,
where
from
the
like
kids
the
are like,
40s and, oh yeah, the ones from the 40s and 50s is terrifying. Like, yeah, legit like nightmare inducing bunny rabbit, like Donnie Darko bullshit. You're like, what the
Yeah.
hell? Like,
that's like if you had like people dressed as Santa Claus at the mall,
yeah,
but they were like disfigured, like weirdo looking ghouls. I don't
Krampus.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. That's what I want to see. I want to see more murder Santas in the mall.
Mall
Or, like,
Krampuses. Crampi.
Downtown.
Like,
Crampi.
how would- yeah.
Crampius. Crampy eye. I think it's Crampi.
Yeah.
I'm going to write the town commerce of New Bern an angry letter. Be like, your Santa is too normal.
I hereby
Let's creep it up."
request multiple Crampies at the to represent, because you could make it like a diversity clause, right?
That's right.
Like to people who celebrate alternative religions like paganism, like you could make up some sort of thing about how the Krampus
That's
is
true.
related. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, can a brother not get one demonic reindeer out of the 12? Just one. Just one undead reindeer feasting on reindeer flesh. As my child goes up and tells Santa what he wants. But yeah.
Yeah, and so what do you do with Krampus? You get on there, he's like, okay, children, who would you like me to curse this year? You can put a hex on like Johnny from
not
school.
Is that what he does? I don't really know the whole.
No,
Krampus
I just
story.
made that up, but it sounds like something that
It
we
sound
would do.
it sounded like a fine tradition. Every year, Krampus tortures and kills one child throughout the year. That's your gift to the world. There was that one movie, and I did watch it, and I found it entertaining, but I don't remember it. I think it's just called Krampus. It
Yeah, I
wasn't
never
bad.
saw it.
Oh well, I mean, hey, good Christmas rolls around. It's a good holiday romp, Dan. I'd pop it on.
Yeah.
Get some eggnog. You know. sit
Speaking
around
of
with the
Christmas,
kids.
I was right before this. My kids do this. They'll mention like something they're stressed about, like right before bed. I'm like,
Oh, good.
I could help you if you had mentioned this earlier, but like Avi was telling me, it's like I got some sort of science quiz coming up. I was like, well, what's it on? She's like, I don't know. Do you know what supply and demand is? I'm like, yeah. So we're sitting there like sitting there on her bed, like getting ready, she's putting her jams on. I'm like, all right. You know how in Jingle All the Way, they had the one Turbo Man, right? And because there was a low supply, the demand was high, right? So that he could charge whatever they want, right? But like, you know, they had all of the other toys that nobody wanted, so those were super cheap, right? So that's how it works. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Like, just write your heart. Just talk about Jingle all the way. You'll be fine.
And I was like,
take it to
remember
me.
when The Mandalorian came out and like everybody was obsessed with Baby Yoda, but Disney didn't realize that, so they only had like a few Baby Yodas, so they were super expensive. And then 6 months later, they made all the other toys, and so then Baby Yoda price went down.
Exactly. That's a good one too.
Yeah,
Yeah, really, Disney did not get. They were not on top of that. I guess they didn't see how big this little Yoda thing was going to be, being as like the main character of the show besides Mandalorian.
it's really quite baffling because I
Like,
saw a whole thing on it. Like Disney, it's yet another trying to think of a metaphor. Another nail in the coffin of Kathleen Kennedy's horrific rule of Lucasfilm. Because
fair.
they did a whole thing where they talked about like how the merchandising aspect, like at the end of 2019, all the store shelves were full with like Rise of Skywalker. So there's like Rey and Poe and all these people that like by that point, like that movie was horrible. Like you couldn't give those toys away because kids weren't interested in it. But the only thing they wanted was Baby Yoda, but they hadn't planned for that because they put all their money into the other marketing budget and stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if they just thought like it wasn't going to be a big thing with kids. I don't know why.
Which is baffling. I mean, the show's a little bit too grown up for like little kids, right? Like it's a little bit darker than regular Star Wars, but it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly. It's like let's put the cutest little main character we can have in here that you could easily make into a doll that every child.
George Lucas is rolling in his grave. He's like, "How do you not see that one, guys? Come on!"
merchandising. Yeah, like my daughter. That's the only thing she really knows about Star Wars. She's like, "Oh yeah, Baby Yoda." Like, of course. Like, yep. Well, there you go. Disney.
Yeah. There's a meme where it's like, you know that meme where it's like a Trojan horse like trying to sneak into Troy or whatever. Yeah. So there's like the guy pushing the horse is like me, and then the Trojan horse is Baby Yoda, and then the doors are like my girlfriend, and then inside the Trojan horse is like all of the other Star Wars characters.
Right. Is there a Jar Jar Binks in there?
I don't know.
I saw this little cartoon the other day. It was like the tragic life of Jar Jar Binks' father, and like him and his wife are stranded somewhere, and he's got a gun to his head, and his wife goes, "No, honey, don't do it. Don't do it. You have so much to live for." And he goes, "Oh, what?" He goes, "Think about baby Jar Jar." The next scene, he shoots his brains out. I was like, that was an unnecessary. It was like now, like it's a new thing. I was like, who thought to draw that up now? I was like, damn, people really still hate that character.
I mean, yeah, it really was objectively bad.
It was. I
mean, it's nice to know that like this is what I think about like when people criticize like Godzilla movies when they were like, like Godzilla comes out and they're like they spent too much screen time with these useless human characters and there wasn't enough, time spent with the monsters. I'm like, have you seen any of the old ones? Like, yeah. It's where that didn't come out of left field, right? That's like watching a James Bond movie and being surprised. Like, well, he just seems like a misogynist, violent dick. Like, there's an imperialist overtones and it's kind of racist. Like, yeah, that. Have you seen any other? Anyway, so it's like the ways that the new Star Wars movies kind of dropped the ball. That's a little bit new, but like to be surprised that there was like. A character that was intended to be popular that really didn't land. Like, right. That's a long-standing, glorious tradition in Star Wars. So, it's kind of in keeping with the old style.
Yeah. Well, either way, yes, it's true. Well, what other ones were there? Like, did they intentionally try to push anything out of the original three?
Well, it depends on where you land on the Ewoks, because they were originally supposed to be.
I can
Wookiees,
see that. Okay.
Right. I remember the Ewoks fondly because I was a kid when they came out.
They were supposed to be Wookiees?
Yeah. The original plan was to have it be a Wookiee planet.
Oh.
Right. But supposedly, and I don't know if this is true or if it was just sort of sensationalized, but they had trouble finding enough 7-foot tall people. Right. I mean, like there's only a certain, there was
logistically possible.
There was like, there was the guy, Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca, and he was unique. Right. Then there was like the guy who played the Predator. Who also played Harry and the Hendersons, but anyway, so there was a short list of people who were like that tall, and so it was easy to find either midgets or kids, right? So so people would, when that movie came out, people kind of criticized and they're like, well, he was just looking for merchandising. Now it worked though because the Ewoks were cute and endearing as characters, but it didn't feel like the sort of dramatic. It wasn't like at that point, Star Wars had, like Empire Strikes Back was like a dramatic, there was like emotional stakes. And then to have the Empire be defeated by a bunch of teddy bears, the people who were like taking it a little bit too seriously, like the grown men, the comic book guys.
Yeah. There was a little incredulity of them like busting them with rocks and sticks and stuff. But I mean, I guess you're getting mobbed by like 12 little Ewoks. it's
Okay,
conceivable. They
sidebar.
could take one down.
I think we may have talked about this before in Battlefront 2 that came out in like 2017 or whatever.
The game.
Yeah. Okay, Star Wars video game. Okay, the
I'm aware of
Battlefront
the game.
the previous one in 2020 was a great game, just like really cool mechanics. I spent like many more hours than I should have playing online. Like giant battles where you're like just running around,
Yeah.
like anyway, really cool. Battlefront 2 like was not a great sequel. It just made everything's overly complicated. They tried to force all these like new locations. Like, don't you want to play as Rey and all these new characters? And people are like, no, we don't want to do that. Anyway, but the one thing they added into that game that was what was hilarious was a special game mode called Ewok Hunt. And what it is like you start off as like a squad of like 8 or 12 stormtroopers, and somehow what happens is like your communications get cut off. You have to survive the night on Endor, and so basically like you see the ship leaving or whatever, and so then you have to survive, and then it's pitch black, and all you have is like a flashlight and a blaster, and you can only use one at a time. And so, like, if you use the flashlight, it attracts the Ewoks. And so, but you can't see them because they're just coming out of the trees. And it's literally one of the scariest games I've ever played because these little Ewok bastards come in there and you can see their little eyes.
Oh,
And
nice.
so what happens? It's like a zombie movie because like whoever gets killed, like you respawn in the game as an Ewok. And so now everybody's teaming up to get. So the one guy who's left standing, and like you can throw little bombs and stuff, and but just you can't see them. They're running around and stuff. It's like it's really scary, but it's also hilarious at the same time.
I like that. I get it. That's fair. That's okay.
Yeah,
It's kind of like reimagining the Oompa Loompas in like the newer Willy Wonka to be like there's like 8,000 of them in the plant, and they all look identical. It's like, wait a minute, I don't like this idea. Or this.
that's
You know
a
what I
horror
mean?
movie concept that is rife for exploration.
Oompa Loompa, like Escape from Oompa Loompa Island.
Yeah, or something like that,
Yeah.
And then like a kid gets cut off from the tour,
Well,
Like-
I'd like to see.
And Willy Wonka goes off, and they're all happy. And then he's like huddled in the corner, and then like the lights go down, and all the Oompa Loompas come out, and they're like, he has to escape.
No, the pre-story where Willy Wonka supposedly rescues them. No, he doesn't. He enslaves them. He goes and he conquers and he slaughters their.
That's a
Oompa Loompa
colonialist
king.
metaphor.
Oh yeah, I would love to see that movie.
Yeah, he's like some old British officer. He's like, well, of course, we're giving them guys opportunities. We're giving them technology and religion.
Oh, we'll give these little Jerrys what for?
Of course, they want chocolate. Who doesn't want chocolate? He's got like a hat with a little point on top. Some giant 6-foot-long rifle.
Yeah.
Like
See, it
that
writes
dude from
itself.
Jumanji.
That's what I was to say. We just watched Jumanji. He's definitely that guy. We were watching also he's the guy. He's the dad who plays the dad in Jumanji too. Like the same
yeah.
character, same guy. Like I was watching. I was like, hey, wait a minute. That's the hunter in Jumanji. So I was like, what? I was like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna fall asleep here in a minute. It's okay. That movie holds up. That's pretty good.
I don't think I've watched that one. And
The original one?
Well, since the 90s.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we watched it a few times. Oh, I can't stop yawning. I'm sorry. I'm an old man. But
I had something I was going to talk about earlier, and I forgot what it was.
I gave you my two things. My my one thing. I wrote my Waco and what else do we want to talk about? Text Day. Those are my two things. I'm real topical. All that stuff came up today.
Yeah.
Did you see any of the? Are you aware of the Twitter and it's probably on Facebook and stuff? The Libs of TikTok page.
I've heard of it. I've heard people mention it.
Right. So it's basically just this. I think it's just a Facebook page, or maybe it might be a TikTok page. But she just takes TikTok photos or the videos of like these insane lefty crazy people, mostly gender non-binary, and a lot of teachers and stuff just that post crazy shit that, like they because they post on their TikTok and stuff they put out there, and she just goes, hey, look at this crazy person. And like she's been mentioned a bunch. Like she mentioned on like Joe Rogan follows her, or her. I say her now.
I think that's who I heard talk about it.
Everyone knows it's a girl now because she got doxxed. Like there was a reporter that did a thing about her and then like found out who she was, where she worked, posted her address and a bunch of stuff. So that's kind of been a big hoopla in like, alternative media kind of thing. But I don't know. It's pretty crazy. So like the chick, the account got suspended from Twitter, I think a week or two ago for like hateful conduct. They're like, all we're doing is posting other people's stuff that's allowed on the site. Like, how can you block
We're
them
giving
for
them
that?
exposure.
Yeah, but I guess by doing that, they're like, wow, well, it's like this chick's just out there, just broadcasting and basically doxing these poor people on TikTok. Like they posted their stuff publicly. Like you can't dox somebody who puts their stuff out there. But that'd be like someone taking our video and putting it somewhere and be like, I can't believe you shared that. Like you put it on the internet, retard. That's you. That's what you did. So it's
So how is Elon Musk gonna crack down?
I don't know. He's gonna just give her a Tesla. It'll be fine. Here's
Yeah.
a car. You'll be fine.
Yeah. How would you like a seat on the first trip to Mars?
Yeah, I don't understand how any of this stuff works. So like you put in an offer to buy that's like way above what the current share value is. However, the board doesn't necessarily want to sell, but as a board, you're supposed to do the financially responsible thing to make your company money and to make your shareholders money, but also I guess you don't have to do that, but then you might get sued if you don't. It's a weird world because you would be like, okay, so I represent the people that own this company. We don't necessarily want to give this company up and not be a public company anymore.
Right.
I don't understand the laws, I think the laws are probably they are extremely complex, and I don't know why. Probably no good reason.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know the answer. I mean,
Yeah.
I would assume, right? Like if you're on the board, it's your job to execute what's in the best interest of the right. But like, I guess is it in the financial best interest, or would you like the moral best interest?
Yeah, because like people say like the fiduciary interest. So that's like your financial interest of the shareholders. So if you can make the shareholders like 40%, like right away,
Yeah,
are you obligated to do that? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, okay, so who's in charge of the board? Right, like in these
Oompa
giant
Loompas.
companies, there's like a board of directors, right? And they can oust like a CEO, or a
Yeah,
COO if they're
I
doing
feel
something
like
wrong.
yeah, correct. But I think it's a democratic process, or there have to be like bylaws written by the company that you have to follow. So I don't.
Do the
I don't know if
shareholders vote for the board?
I would think in some companies, yeah, that or you have to have a certain percentage of shares to be on the board, and then the board probably votes. Yeah, I would think, yeah, this stuff has to be all written up in your drafting of your publicly shared disclosed documents when you go public on how you your what's the word? I'm trying to think of.
IPO.
I don't know your corporate structure. Like there's a way to do it. Like it's stupid as it is. Like my little partnership with my brother in my business, we have a 10-page document outlining all sorts of crap that'll never happen. Basically what our lawyer said you should probably do, just in case.
We will have lunch every second Thursday.
Yeah, like when this happens, this triggers this event, and this triggers this, and it turns into mass suicide, and who knows what happens at that point. But I don't know. It's just weird. Like, just because it can't be true that just because someone offers to buy your company at a hell of a good price, you're obligated to sell. That can't be right. But you know what I mean? That seems strange.
I wouldn't think you're obligated, like legally bound.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right to me, but that's the way people word it. It seems like to me anyway.
I don't know. I mean, the whole problem is that the people who have a vested stake in Twitter up to this point have been there because they are generally down with what Twitter's doing. Right.
Yeah, sort of.
So they're maybe like the people who initially got in on it or kind of like, this is not the Twitter that I envisioned 12 years ago.
Right.
So, but I would assume that like the people who are there are cool with the direction that it's been going for the past 5 years. Otherwise they would have done something about it. Right.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean,
so the question is, it's like, how much are their principles worth to them? Like, do they want Twitter to be like just a haven for left-wing progressive thought and, to hell with the hypocrisy of free speech and all that kind of stuff? Like, or are they like how dearly do they hold those principles to them? Are they willing to be like, oh, okay, but that is a lot of money, so
Right.
I mean, it depends on whether or not they see, because I see Elon Musk as a fairly neutral party in a lot of this. Like he's not, I mean, he's big business, but he's not right.
I do too. No,
Right? He's just a nerd, who's a little bit strange, who wants to innovate and do stuff. He doesn't really speak politically that much unless it sort of relates to, his business and technology and stuff. So if they wanted to, they could see him as sort of a neutral partner, right? Like he doesn't seem to have an agenda other than getting Twitter back to its original mission statement. However, as the case may be, like anything that's not where they are is considered to be the extreme of the other. So,
That's right. Yeah. So it with Elon Musk being a fairly center of the road dude, he's a.
I mean, people are literally calling it fascist.
Right.
They're like, this is there's one article that was like, this is it's like a set. There was this like hilariously grandiose thing where they described him as like a super villain and a Bond villain enacting his plan or something like that.
Yep.
It's like
I saw that.
the guy who wants to enforce free speech laws is the villain.
Yeah, like someone also posted something like, "Oh, like I was like, oh, this era, this pre-Elon Musk taking over Twitter era, feels like the last waning days in Germany of Weimar, the Weimar Republic,
that's what it
Germany
was.
before Hitler takes power." You're like, what? Are you crazy? That's that's right. That crazy Hitler that wants everybody to be able to say what he wants at any point in time. Yeah, like you're right. I don't think he's not overtly political. You're right, but like it's just funny because like he'll say what he wants in the sphere that he's in. So like when Tesla was in California still, and like one of I think it was the mayor of San Francisco or someone was just like something, these rich oligarchs not paying their taxes like Elon Musk. He just wrote like he's just like, I paid $11 billion in taxes last year, and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. Like, what are you talking about? One man paid $11 billion in taxes. Like that's an insane amount of money.
Else paid combined.
Right, and then like she gave him some shit after that, and I think he was just like, I don't have to be in California. And then he took his company to freaking Texas.
Or the one thing where they were trying to like where he what is it? He pledged to like supply a bunch of ventilators to somewhere. I think it was one of those cities in California, and they were like, yeah, they were gonna help out, and then like some person at like the city staff or whatever was like, haven't seen those ventilators. Let Elon Musk like, what's the deal? And he's like, and then they were getting all these retweets and stuff like that, and then he was like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Here's the receipt. He had like proof that they were delivered. Like he's like, you're wrong. Why didn't you look it up first?
They're in your hospitals.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man. Yeah, so whatever. That's the weird. Yeah, so to answer your question, like, are they ideologically tied to Twitter? Yeah, that can be the only reason. I mean,
but how strong are those ties is the question.
Yeah, fair enough. Good point.
But if anybody could start their own Twitter, it's him.
True.
Like everybody, they always say that, right? They're like, "Well, start your own network," and it's like, well, a bunch of conservatives tried that, and then they got canceled off of Amazon. So there's a limit to how much you can just say, well, start your own social network with blackjack and hookers, right? Yeah. And then like Trump's trying to do that, but that's not really going to be successful. But like, if anybody could do it, Elon Musk could do it.
Trump doesn't even post on his own one, so it's not working. Almost dead. Yeah, like,
what's that called?
Is it Truth Social, Truth Network, Truth something?
Yeah, I heard something about that.
I think it's Truth.
It'd be hilarious if it's like Elon Musk started his own social network, and then like he's like, oh, we're doing these things, and then Donald Trump starts coming. He's like, hey, I got a plan. He's like, okay, you know what? How about maybe you just sit this one out for a little bit? I don't need this. Yeah. I don't need this heat. Okay.
Yeah, it's too much. Yeah. I don't. Yeah,
or they have a special code of conduct just for him.
It's called the Donald Trump rule.
Yeah,
it applies to you, Mr. President. The I don't know, the idea, like I don't know if like you couldn't like just plop out a competing Twitter. Like even if you made it as good as Twitter, what would incentivize everybody to leave? It has to be better.
It would be basically be what Parler was, and it just attracted a bunch of conservatives.
Right.
And it wouldn't really
Yeah,
achieve
yeah.
the goal. It would have to be a non-political thing. It would have to be like a yeah. It's like when people would try to compete with YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there was Vimeo, there was all these other video hosting platforms that they never really took off because YouTube eventually just adopted all the things that they had.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So like, it can't just be here's a Twitter thing that we like with rules that we like. It has to be like something that is
Functionally different.
yes and better. And
Like
then,
for example, why TikTok took off because TikTok was different enough
yes,
from the
exactly.
existing platforms. It had a whole different algorithm, an insanely complex but finely tuned algorithm that was different than what Facebook and Instagram were doing.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm getting at. So like, which I guess is the same thing as start your own other social media company, but it's not the same thing. Whatever. But I don't know. I think the buy is a pretty good option, especially when you're like the richest person on the planet. If that's what you want to do. But whatever. I don't. Maybe it'll work, but it doesn't seem to be working at the moment.
Yeah, who knows?
But whatever. I don't freaking know. But the reactions were crazy. Like it's such a weird time to be alive with all that bullshit. Expected,
yeah, it makes you think like how people in universities are going to be talking about this era of history like 10, 15 years from now. Like I don't know, like how long are universities going to be it's okay, there's a whole lot of questions here. Like how long is the university atmosphere going to even be relevant in our society? Two, if it's relevant, like how long is it going to be just sort of little hotbed petri dishes of progressive leftism, right? Which they've been for the past half century.
Sure.
So like, assuming they're still around, like what would the old school liberals of the 70s, 80s say about today? Like it's really baffling.
I mean, you could talk to you listen to like Bill Maher. That's kind of a good barometer.
He was who I was thinking of.
He's an older dude who's just like, well, people give me shit now. He's like, for being conservative or something. He's like, I'm the same liberal I've been my whole life. He's like, the only reason I make fun of more like Democrats and lefties now is because everyone's batshit crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, it's good material.
Yeah.
He's
He
like,
goes with, I saw that interview. Yeah. He's like, I go where the comedy is. I don't know what you
yeah. Yeah. And he's like, I'm still a freaking progressive lefty guy. He's like, those are all my values, and I still hate Republicans and still make fun of them on the regular. He's like, I just happen to have more of there's more people to make fun of now because he's like, it's insane to be like me, and if you're like 15, 20 years ago, I have to like start calling a woman a man and a man a woman. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? That's not a thing. Like, not in reality. But then whatever. So that's an unpopular position if you're on the left. So
yeah.
I don't know, man. Josh, I think if you start the first politician to really start pushing to allow for discharging student loans to bankruptcy, that'll end the university system as you know it. That'll put a huge freaking dent in it, because all of a sudden you can start discharging things to bankruptcy. People aren't gonna start getting paid. Loans won't be repaid, and then all of a sudden,
so you're saying that'll have so you're saying that a lot of the same people ideologically who want student loans forgiven and they want all this stuff, it's going to have an unintended consequence on them, because part of the reason that these sort of economically useless whatever study departments exist, once the financial value gets totally removed from that, you're saying they're going to basically shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, because not so much the people that want to have their stuff forgiven, but right now it's elite. Like, so like if you rack up $300,000 in student loan debt, you can't just declare bankruptcy and get that wiped off your books, and destroy your credit for like 10 years or something like that. That debt stays with you for the rest of your life. That's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. And I think that's like one of the only debts that you can do that with. So if that were the case, if you're just like, well, guess what? I'm not going to pay anybody back. I declare bankruptcy. And then it's just like, then nobody gets paid. and everyone's gonna be real gun shy to start lending out 18-year-olds, a couple $100,000 for no reason. For no reason.
Huh.
Now,
Well-
again, and I think I would agree with you if you're like the student loan forgiveness. It's only gonna be forgiven on the loanee. Like the federal government's going to pay them. It's not. I don't think it's
Right.
federal
The
government-
universities would still get their money. It's just that,
I would assume so,
like,
but not
because
if you declare
if it was
bankruptcy, though.
private institutions loaning monies, then you're right. Like they would be like, all right, look, we have to forgive all these loans. We're going to be very careful who we start loaning to, right? But the government has demonstrated that they clearly don't care about just making more money exist out of the ether.
Oh, I
so-
agree. And yeah, any publicly funded loans. Well, I mean, universities don't give out loans, right?
I
Not
don't
universities.
know. No, I think
No,
they're like they're FHA, whatever.
They're lenders
FHA,
and they're yeah,
FAFSA.
that's right. Oh yeah, God, FAFSA, whatever it was. Yes, but even then, that's just agents. That's a governmental agency. It's not a state, or it might be state, but it's not. I mean, it's not like the university gives you the money. They just happen to rake it all in. That's all.
Yeah, they just benefit from it by
Right.
not having to deal with any market forces.
Yeah, exactly. But even then, like, you can't go to you're not going to, you're not going to UNC on a FAFSA loan. Like, you got to go if you're going to borrow money, or you're not going on a scholarship. You're gonna
At least not now.
No. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean,
So-
I didn't make much. I went to UNC on a FAFSA loan. But that's because we were in a certain income bracket, and it was also the 90s. So it was a different time.
Yeah, that was a different world.
You know,
Right. All I'm saying is, if the ability to get your money repaid is no longer there, and they're all federally backstopped anyway at some point, then those loans will dry up, and the university system will start to drown. I think. But I could be wrong. Whatever.
or there you might see a more strident difference between private universities and public ones.
Maybe, but private's just as expensive, and
No, private's
are you
way
saying-
more expensive. So, like,
That's what I mean. Sorry.
if this
But, like,
happens, it'll happen. It would be one of these like, well, everybody gets free college, right? But it's only for like state universities.
yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
sure,
going to mess up
okay.
the whole economics of how the university industrial complex works, because now Harvard and Warren Wilson, down in Asheville, and all these places that are just
That's true. Yeah, and then and whatever. I mean, and that would be fine. I mean, I think that would be a better thing if a lot of those schools were kind of.
I'm
Well, I
really
mean, I don't-
okay
I don't-
with a lot of that just dying.
Me too. I mean, I think the university systems suck too, and they're just taxpayer freaking drains and all in all. I mean, just freaking the amount of changes has been in like Greenville over the past 10 years since we haven't lived there is insane. And it's like, dude, this is ECU. I mean, let's be real here. It's not a bad school. It's not a great school, but they throw some freaking money around like nobody.
I remember noticing that back my freshman. I remember like I was hanging out with Kyle at UNC, and he's like, "I'm gonna go hang out with my friend in Greenville. You want to go? You want to go to Greenville?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And I remember going to Greenville, and be like, "Hey, these dorms are nicer than mine. I thought UNC was supposed to be the fancy school. Like, and Greenville was like." Everybody at UNC made fun of Greenville, but it's like it's like, wait a minute, they have newer couches, the doors work, they have air conditioning, and I'm sitting over here living in a dorm that my dad stayed in.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, and they got room to grow. I mean, like, downtown Chapel Hill, like, there is no real estate. There's nothing. Like, there's nowhere to go.
There is nowhere to go. Trust me.
Right. Or like Pitt County is those smaller schools with that area, they can buy up.
Yeah, I was just there this
Actual-
weekend. I was looking around. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's bonkers, huh? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, who you were where? In Greenville?
Yeah.
For the show you played? Is that this
Yeah, I was
weekend?
playing at the State Theater, which is
That's right.
right
Yeah,
on whatever it
How
was.
did that go?
It was good.
Yeah.
It's basically, I don't know if you've ever been there, but like it's literally like the Lincoln Theater in Raleigh, just like cloned. Like it's the exact same physical layout. There's like a ramp in the stage, and there's like a balcony.
Well, that's funny.
Everything is exactly the same, except it's newer, and the green room is a lot bigger, and it smells better,
Ah,
and it's easier to park. So, no, it was nice. Everybody there was very nice. The sound people were very competent.
yeah, that's cool. I
And,
see a lot of stuff posted from there from like local bands. So they put on lot of local music, which is cool.
Yeah, The
I
guy
would've been
who
all about
hired
that if
us
I was
was
there.
like some sort of local promoter and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Right on.
yeah, no, it's a good venue. I'd be happy to play there, seeing as how it's an hour and 45 minutes away
Was
compared
that
to
like
some of the.
a Friday or Saturday night or something?
Yeah,
How was the
ours
crowd?
was. It was pretty good. It wasn't as good as some of the other places that we've played a million times, but like for our
Yeah.
first show there, and it being the night before Easter, it was pretty good.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Was that spring break then for the colleges? Are they on spring break?
I don't know. That's usually in March, right?
I have no idea. I don't
don't
remember
know.
anymore. Yeah, that's
So,
probably.
but I mean,
right.
granted, we don't really cater to the college crowd, so
Oh, fair point.
there was really nobody there under the age of 40. But no, it was
Well, it's
nice.
a weird-
It was one of those crowds where like sometimes you have really huge crowds. Like if we play like a small town thing or like a 4th of July thing, you'd be like, oh, there was 600 people there. I'm like, yeah, but they were just old people sitting in lawn chairs and kind of golf clapping.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I'm getting nothing off these people. Right. And then like once the sun goes down and you play Don't Stop Believin', then some of the Karens come up and they just start yelling and then they're annoying.
Yeah.
So
And
whereas
shows
this
up.
crowd was nice because it was like probably 150 people, but like they were all really engaged. So
Yeah, that's good.
and they were like, they had like 1.5 drinks. So they were like having fun, but they weren't like blasted to where they were just like
They
yelling.
weren't obnoxious. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
that's
hard
cool.
sweet spot to find because usually you're like, oh, this crowd's dead. Then you get about 5 minutes where they're having a really great time, and then for 45 minutes it's like, hey, what are you guys playing? You guys still living on a prayer? It's just like, oh, God.
Kill me now. Well, that's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't spent a lot of time up in Greenville at all since we moved, and either way, when I'm up there, it's nuts. It's just all different. But I do see I do see a lot of like Facebook updates and people posting stuff. I was like, wow, man, there's a lot going on up there. That's different.
Yeah, I went there a month ago for Avi's Gymnastics. It was, I was like, all right, this is great. I still don't really have a good layout of the city, but the cool thing about this trip was they put us up in the Hilton,
Oh, nice.
which was like, ooh, I've never done that. So I brought the kids with me, which was unusual. It was sort of an
Oh yeah.
experiment because we've got so
it.
many shows booked this year. I'm like, I'm going to start bringing the children. Like, how's that going to work? So I basically just made them like unpaid labor. So like Levi was carrying
carry
cases
this.
and stuff, and it worked. But we got to have a room in the Hilton, so they were like chilling out and drinking.
Yeah.
We were drinking free coffee, and so that was nice.
Take a dip in the pool.
Well, it was a little too cold for that, but
Oh, it was an outdoor pool. It's a garbage Hilton. They don't have an indoor pool.
I don't know. I didn't look. We weren't really there that long. I mean, by the
I
time
don't know,
you get
I'm
there,
just Yeah, I know. It's always tough. Your daughter had to fight the merch guys off. You're like, or be the merch girl. Like, I was there forever getting my money.
that's a good idea. I should put her to work.
You should, man. Who would not buy merch from a cute little girl selling T-shirts or whatever
Yeah.
the hell you guys sell?
That's a good idea.
It sells itself, man. Just make sure she can count and work.
Yeah.
a
You're
swipe
like,
card.
how much is this many? You'll be like, look. Okay,
like, I don't
remember
know.
our jingle all the way talk about supply and demand. All right, if this is the last T-shirt, this is $100 T-shirt. Okay. There's a callback.
She says, extort you. I can do that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Excuse me. Blah. Well,
All right.
Well. I wish there was more going on in the world. I
Oh,
don't have
there
anything
always
to-
is.
I know, but it feels like it's all the same shit.
It is all the same shit.
How do people do this for a living? They just talk about the same shit all the time.
Yeah, they pretty much. I mean, like if you listen to like 3 episodes of Timcast in a row, like it's gonna be a lot of repeat.
That's a fair point. Maybe that's why it's interesting to bring like 5 people in a room. So at least you get a couple new people every day.
Yeah.
Maybe spark a new conversation up.
You can look it up, Joe.
Yeah, that shit's. But even then, like that's a lot of people to be. Actually, that they do a pretty good job for having so many people in a room on a consistent basis and not having to be like a complete clusterfuck of an argument.
Well, they have a hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
I'm convinced. I've been thinking about this. I'm pretty sure that like Tim has like a limiter on other people's microphones that's controlled by his microphone because you can set that up with like side chaining and audio stuff, so that like when people start chit chatting or whatever, and he talks, it brings everybody else's level down momentarily as a way of, or it could just be that that's sort of an understood dynamic. Like, all right, look, it's not you cast, it's Tim cast, right? So like everybody
Yeah,
kind of
maybe.
gets the gist. If he starts talking, they shut up.
Well, that's really the IRL show. Like he's got his own thing. I mean, because like that Ian dude will talk forever and ever. He'll be like Ian. Like he just like no. So, but either way, I do enjoy that show. I actually I did I tell you I bought their paid membership thing
Oh,
because
I'd be interested. So where they do like their later show where they just
yeah, you
kinda
do the
say
later
whatever?
show and then you get like everything else they've done. I haven't really looked into it. I'm not my life is not in the spot where I can just sit down and watch chickens, but apparently I could do that. I don't think that's that, but yeah, no, the after show stuff was cool. Actually, I really did it the one time because I wanted to catch the Michael Malice one they recently had, which was really good. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna throw $10 at it and see if I like it. So I've watched a few of them. It's worth it. There's a couple guys I mean, I listen to enough stuff that I feel bad if I don't pay for it a little bit. You know, just it's
Yeah.
$5 here, $10 here.
The issue I have with them is that sometimes there are contradictions between the various guests that they have. So they fall a little bit into sort of the Dave Rubin trap where it's like they'll have one person on there and they'll be saying all this stuff and they go, yeah. And they won't really have arguments because they don't want to just be one of those bickering shows. And then they'll have somebody on like the very next day who says the exact opposite of what that person just said. And they go, yeah, what are you going to do? You know? And it's like, hold on.
I can see that sometimes.
You were
yeah.
agreeing with somebody who said the exact opposite. You know, they'll have like Michael Mouse on there and he'll talk shit about somebody who was on the show like a week earlier. And when they were all agreeing and having a good old time, and they're like, yeah, that person's crazy. It's like,
Yeah. Well, again, yeah, you're right though. I think it is probably like a Dave Rubin thing, but or not to be
I
super
agree.
well, yeah. Well, I mean, or just to be like, okay, yeah, no, I get that. Like you just, like I understand what you're saying, or yes, okay. It's maybe not necessarily like I agree, or it's just okay, that's your point of view, but like we're not going to argue about that right now. We can argue about or talk about something else. I don't know.
Well, I've thought about that a lot because like the cultural conversation surrounding all of this, the people that we listen to, that we follow, or whatever, and everybody's always complaining about the fact that like there's no room for people who have different opinions, right? Why can't we all just like have our own views? And it's like, okay, we all think that, but how often do we take that too far to where you know what I mean? Like it's one thing to just go, okay, sure, and not argue, right? But if you're saying that to everybody, then at what point do you become kind of two-faced a little bit? You know,
fair enough. I
People
guess-
need to have
yeah,
the
yeah,
balls to be like, okay, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, look, all right, well, okay, we're at different places on that issue, so it's
yeah.
fine.
Well, agree to disagree on that one. Yeah. I think I see where you're coming from. I think they do a pretty good job on pushing back on some stuff. Maybe not, but whatever.
Well, they had Marjorie Taylor Greene on there a while back, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be interesting.
yeah, but I
and
think
I was-
I think they like legitimately liked her.
She didn't
Like,
seem nearly as crazy as people claim that she is, but she
Yeah.
did say a few things where I was like, okay, I don't know if I would
Probably.
go that far.
I listened to that one. I don't think I was like glued to it, if that makes sense.
I can see why a lot of people don't like her.
Yeah,
She has a kind of annoying presence,
sure.
and she doesn't
Yes,
entirely.
no, agreed.
It's that sort of Trump thing where it's like, I'm not a Washington insider, I'm an outsider, and it's like, okay, that also means that you don't entirely understand what's going on. So
That's fair, but that's okay too. I'm not opposed to that. What's his face? DeSantis was doing. What's he doing? He's trying to obviously take away like the special privileges that Disney has, like in the Orlando area. Like they got some weird I don't know. They basically they run the whole town like that. Their section, but their land, they have like complete autonomy over it, like legally.
where they have like their
Like,
own police or something.
I think they work with the police, but like they have all sorts of rules set up in their favor that they can kind of do what they want without so much interference. I mean, I think like the town. And the
Are they like
county
their
is
own
in there,
township or something?
more or less, yeah. And it's just like, you know what? I think we're just gonna have to look in that agreement and maybe just check out that legislation again. Since you guys are being dicks. It's like, whoa, that guy's crazy. And then like another thing. I don't understand what he would do about this. He's like, yeah, like as the Florida like pension holders and stuff, I think there's a certain amount of Twitter stock that we own. And he's like, I don't really like where this is going either. So I think we're gonna look into that. We should look into that. Let's see what kind of pressure we can put on Twitter, and see what we can do. See if we can get the board's attention. I was like, okay, go for it, bro. Like this guy's he's on the offensive. Whatever
He's
that
a shock.
means. I don't know if that's good, but he's shaking things up. I like it. But
yeah, I like the idea of it. I mean, I'm not necessarily like. There's a part of me that wants to be like, is DeSantis the guy who's going to fix some of this stuff? And I'm like, I'm not naive enough to think that like some new charismatic person is just going to fix a bunch of problems that's decade in the making.
Yeah,
but it's possible he may do some useful things in breaking up some of these monopolies.
Yeah, it's possible.
And exposing some of the hypocrisies about the people who, because like up till now, like. I don't know. I've been of the opinion a while that like what the left is trying to do is they're trying to sort of win on moral grounds, right, as opposed to sort of common sense grounds. And it's like if they had been paying attention, that's the battle that the right lost a long time ago, right? Like in the 90s, 2000s, right wing Republicans were trying to do like moral, principles and family values and stuff, and it didn't really work because ultimately that stuff is kind of subjective and it kind of it's still like subject to common sense and math,
right? And they definitely didn't focus in on like I'll use this term, and I don't mean it in a negative or positive way, but like using the reins of power. They didn't they weren't like legislatively into doing things to push their agenda. Really, like the super urban conservative people, anyway. If that makes sense. Whereas, like
at the end of the day, like it was a kind of non-American approach because it wasn't respecting the individualism of the world, right? And I think, you know what I mean? Like trying to like legislate like what people do in their bedrooms, and like what they put in their body in terms of like drugs and stuff like that. That's a battle that conservatives and the right wing kind of has long since lost.
Yeah.
Right. And the left, I don't think they're sort of doing that on their own. Right? They're saying like, well, screw economics and screw math and screw the Constitution. We're just going to fight on principles. It is right. And the social justice thing, all this.
Yep.
That's where all this is coming from. They're not realizing that like you don't win elections by doing that because you're never going to get everybody to agree. And the problem that the right did was they wanted to browbeat the other side into submission. If you wanted to be a good person, you need to believe like we do. And people don't respond to that. They go in the other direction. Right. And that's a lesson that these hardcore lefties, I think, are about to learn. Right.
Well, I
guess you
guess
can't browbeat the other side as submission on moral grounds. You got to give them some common sense, some logic, some math. Here's how the numbers are going to work with the money. It's not going to end well.
Yeah, maybe that's how you do it. I don't know. What? And I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I'm just saying now on the flip side, the conservative side of the coin here, the Republicans, the Southern conservative people are really starting to take it on a governmental level. They're doing like abortion bans. Like they're picking up. Texas is taking illegal immigrants, putting them on buses and driving them up to DC and just dropping them off. Which that seems like that's a brilliant move if you are tired of Washington allowing the southern border just to flood your state. Be like, all right, we'll get in this van. We're taking you to DC.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that like I may not necessarily agree with the individual action.
Yeah.
But as a principle of being like, hey, let's establish that the federal government can't tell individual states what to do. Yeah, that's
what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a step in the right direction.
Those kind of guys. I don't know, man. That stuff is interesting to me. Although I think these people are probably all jackasses and retards, just like every other freaking politician out there. Actually, I know that. I don't think it. I know it. And like you said, like I wouldn't put any hope in DeSantis to actually do anything really meaningful with the country. But whatever, shake things up and maybe turn the tide a little bit on something. I mean, yeah, for sure, I would be super happy with less power in Washington and more power to the states and let them do their own goofy, crazy, off the wall stuff.
Yeah, let Florida be Florida, let California be California, and then we'll see where it lands.
Exactly. That's a good move. And we almost filled an hour. 3.
Yeah.
13.
We can fill the next 45 seconds.
15. We can. So I'm not going to vote for Ron DeSantis. Actually, again, I'm probably still not going to vote. But
you're not going to vote, period.
Exactly. So, but Maybe you never know, man. Something really crazy happens. I don't know.
I might at a game time decision. I might vote for him. Well, I don't think he's going to run in 2024, right? I mean, because he's running for re-election. I don't know how the governor thing. I mean,
I don't know.
It's a big question.
It seems like it's the opportune time to ride that wave if you're going to do it. But also, he's got to go up against Donald Trump in 2024, which I don't think.
That's
I don't think that's
going
to be that hard.
I don't like Donald Trump for a variety of reasons, and I'm anticipating liking him astronomically less if he insists on throwing his hat in the ring and muddying the waters more. Because I'm like, look, yeah, you had your shot. You came in, you disrupted a bunch of stuff, and you really kind of screwed yourself on the outside there. Let somebody else who's not an asshole come in here and do something. But all he's going to do, he's going to divide the Republican Party the way the Democratic Party is divided. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's going to be good for anybody. What does he think to accomplish?
Right, because it's not like he's going to get in there and there's going to be like 40 million Democrats who voted for Joe Biden and be like, oh, you know what? In retrospect, we really missed Donald Trump. That's not happening.
No.
And then all he's going to do is, like you said, he's going to piss off more Republicans because he does not more than already were pissed off at him.
Right, because if him getting in there is going to force DeSantis and people like him to either look to the past or the future, right? Yeah. They're going to have to make uncomfortable calls or be like, look, dude, why don't you sit this out, right? And then it's going to be a bunch of petty squabbling, and it's just going to look like every other political argument, and it's going to be a shit show.
Well, and honestly, we're now kind of post-COVID, so there's going to be a whole lot of you really screwed the pooch during COVID there, Donald Trump. Like, you allowed all sorts of terrible stuff to happen, and you inflated
from both
the dollar.
sides. The left is going to say he didn't do enough, and the right's going to say he allowed the left to do too much.
Oh, I guess so, maybe. But I think we're past. I don't think the left's going to be able to use COVID as like a beating stick. You're like, don't we missed a lot? Couldn't he have done more? You know what I mean? Like, it was like, we're going to end the pandemic. Well, you didn't end it. You know what I mean? Everyone's tired and sick of it now. I don't think going back to COVID is going to be a winning position for anybody. I know there's a very small.
The only person who can use COVID is DeSantis because he's one of the few people that was consistent the whole time.
Exactly.
He can get up there and be like, well, governors, no, look, right. Trump doesn't get to play that card.
That's what I'm saying. I think a lot of people are going to look back on the conservative side, the Republican side, and go, yeah, you know what? Donald Trump really fucked that whole COVID thing up, and all the stuff that we hated was under his watch, really, at the beginning of it. All the spending, all the inflation, all that.
Yeah, but it wasn't his idea. I mean, that's his defense. It wasn't his idea to spend $8 trillion.
He signed off on the budget, right? He signed off on it. So
yeah, the question is, how much choice does he have? I mean, I don't know.
He's got the veto pen. He can say no every time. He can shut the government down tomorrow at the time of a budget.
Yeah, well, that's a hard call. I mean, look, it's not me defending him, but it's just like,
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. But regardless, like it can easily all the inflationary stuff we're seeing now can be thrown on him. All the post-lockdown bullshit, all the supply chain stuff can be thrown on him. I mean, just reasonably because he was the president. So that's whatever. It's going to be a tough.
Partially, it's impossible to have a control group, right? Like,
right. All I'm saying is that is a bludgeoning point to beat Donald Trump over the head with. It's going to be a tough.
The problem is you can't
for him.
You can't beat Donald Trump over the head with inflation without also beating Joe Biden over the head. Right.
No, I meant from a conservative point of view, a Republican. Like if for fighting for that seat, like the Republican primary kind of stuff.
So the idea would be that he didn't do enough. He wasn't a strong enough bulwark against the lockdown craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the rampant money spending and all that kind of stuff. Just here's your checks for whatever for everybody. Like literally everybody, like everybody got a check, but I get it. Like Congress does the purse and all that stuff, but president signs that stuff off. So on a lot of it, or maybe not all of it, maybe not. I don't know. Actually,
there's a degree to where there's the the deep state that like how much is he going to be able to like the corruption surrounding all the PPP loans, and all that stuff. Like all these people, these career bureaucrats in there trying to push all this stuff through, like. Yeah, maybe if he hadn't made so many enemies, if he was a leader that actually inspired loyalty and confidence, maybe we could have, if they had spent less time arguing over stuff and less time worrying about what he was tweeting, maybe they could have actually done that in a way that wasn't rampant with corruption.
Yeah, like 25% of the money's just gone and no one knows where it's at. Like, it's
Yeah,
insane.
and if if the people in Washington had, I mean, he's over there causing all of these impeachments. Granted, he didn't do what they say they did, but the fact that
Right.
he's being such a contrarian dick that, like, right? I mean, imagine how much actual governing they could have been doing if they weren't trying to impeach him every 5 seconds.
I know, but that's why I liked him so much. It was the contrarian dickhead that really. It's the only thing I liked about him. So that's all right. It'll be interesting. Yeah,
There's plenty of those in the world.
This is true. Yeah, but I literally got no idea what's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know if Ron DeSantis waits another swing at it. I mean, whatever. We'll see. He hasn't said anything. It's all pure speculation.
Everybody's saying it for him. He hasn't actually said anything, right?
This is true. So that seems like a good sign that it's not going to happen. Well, whatever. He's got one more year to really start talking about it. So if he starts talking about it in a year, he's trying it. So it's coming up soon.
Depends on how the midterms go.
That's true too. Actually, you're right. Nobody's going to make any decision until they see how the midterms go. That's a fairly decent point. Whatever.
It's going to be a red wave.
Oh, it's going to be an orangey red wave.
Or a blue wave. One way
I
or
don't
the
have
other.
lights. I can't do it.
Obey my dog, Derek. We should do a whole show like this.
I can't. I'll dim mine. Maybe I can get more red in my face. I'll bring those lights over here. That'll work. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable. It hurts my eyes. Okay.
All right. You ready?
Let's get out of here. So that little end of the clip, it sounds like it says Dan.
That's funny. Like, remember the old clips of Scott singing?
Those are so good.
Help
Packers
us,
lyrics.
Satan.
I was telling Sally about that. We were watching something about just evil music and backwards. I was like, you know how hard it is to write something backwards that makes sense? Like to write it forward that makes sense and then have it backwards be sense. I was like, first of all, I got a story for you and we should end the show.